What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit YouTube channel. My name is Miko, and this is our NFL Draft Prospects series. This is a brand new series that we started over here on the POD channel, where we're basically going to take a look at the film of some of the big names that are currently going to be in the 2025 NFL Draft class and look back at their, college tape to see if they could, in fact, be a good fit for the Detroit Lions. Again, this is not saying that the Lions absolutely should have to go out and get these players, but just, again, looking at play style, looking at some of their strengths and some of their weaknesses. Do they possibly fit into the mold of what the Lions could be looking for going into this draft class? We started this series last week looking at wide receiver Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. Today we're going to look at a position that I think a lot more fans are going to agree that this is a big need for the Lions. And if the Lions could get this specific player, I think a lot of people would be happy. And the player we're talking about is edge defender Mike Green out of Marshall. Now, Mike Green is a very, very interesting prospect. He was someone that was initially mocked to the Lions by both Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks in their first initial mock draft over at the NFL Network. Since that time, Green went on to the Senior Bowl, had an amazing week of practice, got to meet with coaches, did not play in the game, but the impact that he left and the impression he left with a lot of those officials during that week of practice was enough to start to see his name climb, where it's very rare that you're still seeing Mike Green, at least mocked to the Detroit Lions. But as we all know, mock drafts are just, educated guesses that scouts and draft analysts are making based off of just things that they are hearing. And it's easy to see and understand why Mike Green could be climbing up boards, especially when you look at the performance that he had at the Senior Bowl, but that doesn't mean that he's completely out of the range of the Detroit Lions. The Lions could still possibly trade up for him, or just because, again, he had a good week at the Senior Bowl, he still has to go out and have a really good week at the Combine as well. And if there's still room for him to maybe slide down to the Lions, that is still a possibility as well. But in today's video, we are at least going to focus in on the film and see if what we see on the film lines up with what the Lions could potentially be looking for at the edge position. Now, one thing about Mike Green, when we start getting into his measurables, he's a pretty decent size. He's about 6'3", about 250 pounds. In that 250 pound mark, technically he weighed in at the Senior Bowl at 251. That is a nice little check mark, at least in my book, right? One of the things that I was concerned about when watching him on film is that he looks very, very slender. But the fact that he was able to show up to the Combine at 251, I believe he played, his playing weight during the season was about 240-ish. So the fact that he was at least able to tip over 250 at least gives you some encouragement that he could put on weight. But just because he is a lighter weight, I do think there are some benefits, and it's definitely helped his game as we kind of start to jump into the first play here. And one of the things that I think him playing at this lighter weight really helps him with is his just quick first step. Like, he is one of the quicker edge defenders that I think you will see, that when the ball is hiked here, he is very, very quick at getting past this tackle. And even though he's not able to get, a hand on the quarterback or even necessarily tip this ball, he's at least there quick enough to rush the mechanics of this throw. And this is something that I saw time and time again when looking at Mike Green in some of these situations. He is so quick off the trigger that whether it's on the inside or the outside, it really puts a lot of stress on the opposing offensive linemen to be able to be just as quick with their hands, to be just as quick with their feet. As you see in this play, like 77 is not even fully set before he's trying to kind of at least try to get hands on Mike Green. But again, Green does a really good job of defeating the hands. He's already passed him, hands in the air to at least, throw off the throwing window of the quarterback. Really, really strong play from him. And like I said, this is something that you see show up time and time again. And it's not just in the passing game either. Now, with this play here, we're going to see Louisiana run a nice little inside run. And again, you're going to see the speed with that first step from Mike Green to be able to beat the tackle and the guard to be able to get into the backfield. Again, forcing the running back to have to pick another gap where he runs right into the waiting arms of another opposing Marshall defender. And so when you're able to utilize a speed, not just in passing situations, but also in running situations, to be able to beat tackles, again, before they're able to get hands on you, before a guard can be able to pull in your directions, that in itself can be very, very advantageous to a defense. And it also shows that you can be on the field for all three downs. It's great if you can have that speed on pass rushing downs. Obviously, teams want to be able to get off the field on third down, but in order to get to third down, you also have to be able to win on first and second down. And Mike Green at least is showing the ability to be a team player in that regard. He's not just, again, a guy that's going out here getting sacks, which he did a lot at Marshall this year with 17 sacks on the season, but he also had a number of tackles for loss as well. I believe he had over 22 and a half tackles for loss. Again, doesn't get the tackle here, but makes a good enough play to make this be a minimal gain for Louisiana in this situation. Now, another thing that we're going to take a look at in the next couple plays when we look at Mike Green is that pass rushing ability, right? Obviously, if you are going to draft an edge defender, as much as I can sit here and talk about how important it is to defend the run and things of that nature, you as the fan only care about, okay, but can he get to the quarterback? And again, looking at this past season, Mike Green did that more than anybody else in the FBS. Like I said, leading the league or leading the nation with 17 sacks on the season. He was an absolute monster in every regard, and he does it in so many different ways. And I think that's something that I really like about him as a pass rusher. Typically, when you have guys in the draft, they may have one move, they may have two moves that are really good. Some of them are just athletic freaks that are just able to just, athlete the opposing offensive lineman. But what you see with Mike Green on a number of occasions is that he is very nuanced in his approach to rushing the passer. He does use that first step a lot, and that usually is like his number one option in terms of being able to beat opposing tackles. But he also does a good job of also converting speed to power, and that's something that, again, some of the best of edge rushers are able to do, is that when you're already a physical freak when it comes to speed, but when you can turn that speed into power and either dip under tackles like he does here against Virginia Tech, that in itself is a true weapon. Because again, you're in these types of situations, if you have this opportunity to be able to go one-on-one with a tackle and you're able to get past them before they're able to get hands on you, and you're able to, again, force the quarterback to leave the pocket, be able to make an untimely throw. These are the types of things that if you're the Lions, you're definitely in need of, because Aiden Hutchinson is already doing a lot of these things. Aiden's probably one of the better, twitchier guys when it comes down to having a really good first step off the line. You get a guy like Mike Green that's able to do things like this, dip that shoulder, get, flat and be able to, pursue the quarterback. Doesn't quite get the sack here, but does enough to be able to, have this be an incomplete pass for Virginia Tech. And in another situation, like I was just talking about, with that ability to be able to convert that speed to power, we see that a little bit more here, where again, he's able to at least get into the chest of number 71, push him back a little bit, swim over, which is again, that next, ability that a lot of, again, college pass rushers don't have, is that ability to string moves together. Green shows that up very well, whether it's having like this little outside jab step that he uses a lot, where he's able to set up a tackle going one direction, cross his face, swims over, and then is able to be in the lap of the quarterback. You see this happen on so many different occasions. The two games that, that a lot of these highlights are for the Virginia Tech game and the Louisiana game. But I also checked out the Ohio State game. I also checked out his game against, I think it was Southern Mississippi. Like, he had a number of games this season where he's just doing this over and over and over again. And I could have even put even more plays from both of these games where he's doing this to opposing tackles on both sides of the offensive line. It's not just the right side. He does this on the left side as well, where he's constantly setting up opposing offensive linemen and utilizing his speed, utilizing different pass rush moves to be able to get after the quarterback. And I think that's one of the things that when you talk about him as a prospect, that's the thing that's got him rising up the board for people, because they're going back and they're watching this tape and they're just like, yeah, he's pretty nuanced when it comes down to his pass rushing. So the question remains, what are some of the weaknesses then when it comes to a pass rusher like Mike Green? And for me, there's only two that really kind of showed up for me when I was watching tape. One is whenever you're talking about a speed edge rusher, one of the things you have to always keep an eye out for is balance. How balanced are they when it comes down to getting after the quarterback, when it comes down to bending those edges? Are they able to stay on their feet and be able to close? Or are they sometimes a little erratic, or are they easily knocked off their spot where you're constantly seeing them on the ground? You see that here in this play here. He beats the right tackle in order to get very close to the quarterback. But again, this tackle stays on him just enough. Mike Green isn't able to keep his feet. He ends up on the ground. Quarterback is able to escape. Again, it's an incomplete pass, but in the NFL, these are the types of things that when you're not able to finish, and luckily he had his teammates there to help you, like to kind of rally and make this a difficult play. In the NFL, if you're not able to clean up these types of plays, these are the things that eventually become big plays because things just start to break down. Quarterbacks are able to freelance and maybe find someone down the field. Or again, if you're going up against someone that's very mobile, you're talking about someone taking off and getting big yards on the ground. So this is one of the things that, again, this is just one play, but it's something that I did see show up quite often in his tape where he'll win very quickly off the line in some situations, get a good, jump on the offensive lineman, start to make that bend towards the quarterback, and whether it's him just simply losing his feet or getting like enough of a push on him from the opposing offensive line that he ends up on the ground just a little too much. And that's for some people that might be nitpicking a little bit, because again, you can definitely argue that that's still pressure and that's still quality pressure, him just getting into the lap of the quarterback. But obviously when you're in the NFL, you want to be able to finish those plays. Another thing that I think is still something that, again, I'm not going to say is a weakness, but it's something that I would label as something that he's going to have to improve from, is his strength at the point of attack. And it's not that it's bad, it's just that it's not always consistently there. Like I said, he is definitely more of a speed pass rusher in my opinion, but when you're in the NFL, you also have to be able to be powerful, because you're not always going to be put on an island. You're not always going to be able to just rush that outside shoulder of an opposing tackle. Some of these tackles are very good at jumping and getting good depth out of their snaps. And so what are you going to do when a tackle has you squared up? Can you be powerful at the point of attack? Can you be powerful with your hands to be able to jolt a tackle and get around them? That is something that I didn't see consistently enough from Mike Green. It's there in spurts, but it's not there on a consistent enough basis. Looking at someone like Aiden Hutchinson, someone that does this very, very well, in my opinion. You see him consistently get off the line, get hands on opposing offensive linemen, and is able to somewhat bench press them so that he can create the space that he needs, whether that's to be able to swim inside or swim outside, but he's at least able to create that space. That is something that I think Mike Green, whether it's throughout the draft process as he's continuing to work out and get prepared for the combine and different things, or just getting ready for an NFL team, or once he gets drafted by a team, that those are the things that he's going to have to work on. Again, he's not the biggest guy, right? 6'3", 250 isn't imposing by any stretch, but his blend of athleticism is already something that I think the Lions should look for, because I don't think they need any more big bookends, right? Like, they have enough of those guys, but they need more guys that can be that yin to Aiden's yang, in that sense of, you have enough power on one side with Aiden. Let's get a little bit more speed. And if you're able to, again, be in the range or willing to give up the assets to get a guy like Mike Green, if he ends up truly staying that high of a prospect in the draft, I at least think he at least has the tools when you talk about, what he's able to do on the football field, as well as the accolade, talking about 17 sacks, talking about 22 and a half tackles for loss, talking about the quarterback pressures that he had at Marshall this year. There's enough there to definitely warrant him being one of the guys that should be on the Lions draft board this season. But those are just some of my thoughts and my opinions. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section when you look at a guy like Mike Green. Is he someone that you think the Lions should target? Do you think he's someone that is even worthy of a first round pick? Or do you think the Lions should look elsewhere when it comes down to some of their edge rushers? I want to know all of that in the comment section below. Also, if you're looking for any more draft content or any more insight into the combine as that happens this week, all you have to do is head over to prideofdetroit.com. There will be new articles uploaded over there throughout the week on the combine, as well as any other draft news that comes out during this time. Also, if you're looking to stay tuned to the rest of this series, as well as just stay tuned to all of the video content that we're uploading over here on YouTube, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and those things will make it so much easier for you to find our content whenever we decide to upload new videos. So with all that said, I'm Miko. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.